What makes a speedrun good to watch, do you ask? I can already hear you yelling from the back, dear YouTube viewer. Nostalgia! And hey, maybe you're right. Case closed. 15 seconds into the video. Back it up, it's nostalgia. Congratulations, Sherlock Holmes. But what if it's not just nostalgia? What if there's more going on here? Let's start with Mega Man X and how it performed on my channel. I recently streamed the category 100% Iceless Waterfall, and it peaked around 150 to 160 viewers. This was the highest my channel ever saw for average viewership when it came to speedrunning. You wanna know why? Sweet nostalgia, baby! Everyone loves Mega Man X. That's it. That's the magic potion. Just bottle up nostalgia and sell it by the boatload. Okay, not really. Because yeah, nostalgia helps of course, and it helps a lot, but Mega Man X also has something that's just as important. Something I would call understandable pacing. What I mean by that is someone can drop into the stream at any moment and immediately understand what's going on in the speedrun, both because they played the game as a kid, and what's accessible as a kid is still accessible from a speedrun point of view as an adult. For example, how you killed Sting Chameleon back then might have been using the boomerang loop as a kid, but now speedrunners can Hadouken him off an ice platform floating placed in the sky. It adds a completely different appeal. The core of what you're doing is always accessible to the viewer, and when it's not, Mega Man X doesn't do anything crazy and become unrecognizable. And not everyone is there for every attempt, but in Mega Man X, every attempt is recognizable. There's clear moments that people look forward to hitting specific tricks like Iceless. You can leave to cook lunch or something, come back, and within seconds, you're still on the same page. I think it's really big as a viewer thinking, man, like I hope he hits this next Hadouken, compared to, why is this guy running into a wall for 30 seconds? You don't have to think, you just kind of immediately know. And honestly, as weird as that sounds, I think that's really huge when it comes to a speedrun. It's kind of like going into a foreign restaurant, you don't speak the language, you don't know what anything means, and you feel kind of lost. But with Mega Man X, you already know enough of the language to order something that's probably not accidental rat poison, probably not lethal. Very little needs to be explained to you as a viewer. You've got Iceless, the Magic Carpet, Hadoukens, Vile and Armadillo skips, the 8 Mavericks, Sigma stages. There's always something recognizable happening. There's no real dead air. And on top of that, it's well routed. It's competitive, it's full of natural breaks for chat interaction, level starts, level ends, password screens, Dr. Light, upgrade capsules. It's familiar and again what I would call comfort viewing. That kind of clarity isn't the only way to hold attention. Sometimes the opposite can work just as well. So let's compare Mega Man X to something like Battle Kid. When I was grinding Unfair Mode for the first time, the stream averaged over 130 viewers. And if you don't know, Unfair Mode means one hit and you're dead. There's no continues, and if you take any damage at all, you get sent right back to the title screen. It took me 2,721 attempts to finally clear Unfair Mode. And I think this creates a totally different perspective. Tension viewing. Every run can end instantly, at any moment, from everything. This creates constant suspense that builds the longer a run manages to survive. Early on it goes from, man, this looks hard, to, wait, is he actually gonna pull this off? To near the end, it's like, don't blink or I'll miss it. I actually had people in chat at the time saying they were delaying phone calls just to keep watching a run that got near the end. It's like watching an underdog story unfold in real time. You're watching someone struggle, fail, get knocked down, and get back up again, because they're never gonna keep me down. I'm sorry for saying that. But you know what? No, I'm not. The world needs more Chumbawamba in 2026. Or maybe they actually won't get back up. Maybe it ends in catastrophic failure. It's honestly a total coin flip, and I think that's what makes it so compelling is the ending isn't always happy or even guaranteed. It's a real struggle to even get to see the finish line. In fact, one of the times that I was running Battle Kid, I got to the very end boss, and I was maybe 2 or 3 shots away from killing him for the first time, and I died like a chump. I find this awful, honestly, as a runner, but it's deeply motivating to try again, so I feel there's likely something that resonates the same with a viewer. When I'm a viewer in a stream, I want to see the person succeed, but I guess it just means more to me when the goal actually took some effort instead of being some cracked 30-minute low-effort concoction thing thrown together without much meaning. Battle Kid had something else going on for it. Exclusivity. Nobody had been really running Battle Kid for years when I took interest and I picked it back up. So if you wanted to watch Battle Kid, there was exactly one place to go. It became something unique to my channel, and almost by accident. Beating Unfair on Battle Kid wasn't something anyone else had done in literal years, and the only place you could see it was me. That type of tension is very powerful and creates great suspense, but it behaves very differently when randomness enters the equation. Our pal Roger from Who Framed Roger Rabbit averaged about 120 viewers. How the hell did that happen? Roger Rabbit is weird because it doesn't really follow that understandable pacing and routing thing going on in Mega Man X. In fact, it's kind of the opposite. The route at first is horribly confusing to watch and generally required constant explanation. King Kong 2 is similar on my channel for me. It averaged about 110 viewers, and in that run you're constantly jumping around and warping between doors. Both games aren't exactly intuitive to someone just dropping in, and both games are insanely reset heavy. In Roger Rabbit, you reset about every 20 seconds, and in King Kong 2, you reset about every 10 seconds when you don't get the right RNG. So if both of these runs are kind of confusing and reset heavy, why do they work? Slot machine mechanics. Every attempt feels like playing on an actual slot machine. Maybe this is the run, and you know what? It could be. Or maybe this run doesn't happen for another 50,000 attempts. Who knows? But because each attempt is only a few minutes long, it's incredibly easy for a viewer to say, alright, one more. And that applies to both sides, the streamer and the viewer. There's something genuinely fun about letting luck decide the outcome instead of relying entirely on execution. There's also a pretty big caveat there. Similar to with Battle Kid, a lot of runs end in tragedy. And guess what? Speedrun viewers are sick fucks that like when stuff ends in tragedy. So I think that increases the overall appeal. Okay, so maybe they don't like the tragedy itself, but using the same slot machine analogy, how lame would it be if you watched someone on a slot machine and they just won 100% of the time? You need that terrible story arc where you lose all your money and you have 1 quarter left, and with your dying breath, you put that quarter into the slot machine and you win it big after losing over and over and over. I think that's the big draw. In Roger Rabbit, all that really matters is getting a fast Judge Doom fight. In King Kong 2, it's getting knocked through the final boss door at the end. You don't need to understand the whole run, you just need that winning lottery ticket finish. And that in turn creates something interesting, a goalpost that isn't always within reach. For contrast, I'm running a game called Pizza Pop. I dropped my PB from 9:57 to 9:38 in 2 days so far, trying to beat a 9:34 from an old pal of mine, Sidetrack. And the reason that happens so quickly is because Pizza Pop is an entirely execution-based game with no RNG. I studied the world record strats, practiced, and ultimately improved very quickly without there being much of a barrier to my rapid progress. With something like Roger Rabbit, trying to hit 3-4x has been way harder. Not because I can't execute, because it's not fully in my control. And I think that's part of the broader appeal. Luck-based runs stay alive longer on a channel than traditional high reset execution grinding just because any run could be the run, but more than any run could be the run from an execution standpoint where user failure is often a thing. With luck-based runs, there isn't really the user failure component, it's just the universe decides to say yes in that moment in time. The unpredictability of winning the jackpot in the slot machine is what makes these runs compelling in a completely different way and often provide this weird longevity where people don't get bored of seeing the same grind over and over. But what if you could create that same just one more feeling without relying on luck at all? Super Mario Bros. 1 averaged around 110 viewers, which honestly surprised me because I'd never really ran a platforming Mario game before, and I don't really have strong ties to the Mario speedrunning community. A lot of people still tuned in for the grind, but I don't think it was just because it happened to be Super Mario Bros. 1. I think it was more so the gimmick that I thought of. My idea was pretty simple. Could I get sub 5 in Super Mario Bros. 1 any percent in 25 hours? Instead of grinding endlessly until sub 5 eventually happened, I gave it a hard deadline. I think that completely changed the experience. As the clock started to run out, viewership actually picked up, but I think that's because there was something at stake. Without that countdown, I honestly don't think it would have performed the same way. Plenty of people have gone for sub 5 before, but I wanted to make my own journey a little bit more unique. Super Mario Bros. 1 is a recognizable game, and sub 5 is a recognizable benchmark. But it's actually pretty deceptively difficult. There's a lot that goes into it, and I think shooting for a well-known goal and adding a ticking clock is a great combination, and that's probably why deadlines exist in the corporate world. Sometimes adding a deadline makes making a project make sense. Like, who would have guessed? Like, when you put it on paper like that, it's so simple! So, I finished the 25 hours with a 504, and I got the sub 5 by the 48-hour mark. But again, I think the real draw wasn't, like, the speedrun itself. It was again the question looming over everyone's head. Is Dave going to make it? It turned the experience into something else entirely. As a viewer, you're no longer watching a speedrun. You're watching some kind of deadline, I guess. And I think that idea has a lot of potential. You're essentially speedrunning the speedrun goal itself. And you can apply that to a lot of different games in really creative ways. It adds pressure, high stakes, and a reason to keep playing and watching for both the streamer and the viewer. And you know what? Something entirely random? Someone named Adrian in my channel when I was trying to get sub 5 ruined Mario 1 forever, and I'm gonna pass on that same exclusive knowledge to you. He told me at the time, "Did you know the opening lyrics in the underground section are penis, penis, penis?" I was never unable to unhear that, and I still randomly crack up when somebody is running Mario 1. You wanna know what else is ruined for me? This challenge gave birth to my most popular emote on Twitch ever, Luigi Poop. Look how beautiful it was! For 3 glorious days, everyone on Twitch spammed it over 2,000 times in different channels, and then Twitch deleted it, saying you can't have emotes that actively depict defecation. I mean, in retrospect, that's a pretty sensible policy, but come on! And on a very topical note, if you're watching this video in particular in May 2026, please go check out my super homie Omqwat, who'll be trying to achieve a sub 12 time in Ninja Gaiden 1 in the month of May. Getting a sub 12 in Ninja Gaiden 1 in a month is a very tall order, so it'll be interesting to see how well he does. I'll leave his Twitch information in the description and pinned comment below, but please go check out Omqwat. Omqwat is an awesome dude. So, of course, not everything works or is popular on my channel. Bucky O'Hare and Tiny Toon Adventures both average around 60 viewers, which is honestly quite shocking to me. You would think because they're based on recognizable intellectual properties, they would be more popular by default, but I learned pretty quickly, just because people recognize a franchise doesn't mean that they remember playing the game, or maybe they never even played the game at all. Both of these games had pretty late releases considering the timeline of the NES, so a lot of people missed out on them, which in turn creates a lot of disinterest and disconnect. Tiny Toon Adventures is especially interesting as it has some of the best speedrun movement in my opinion on the entire NES, but visually it kind of all blends together. There aren't really a lot of standout moments, no moments of strong tension, no real insane tech or tricks, and the game just kind of exists in a state of perpetual being. It's maybe akin to watching a movie that never really makes you feel particularly strong about certain characters, the plot, or certain parts, or anything. Bucky kind of falls into the same trap, but it also suffers from being a longer speedrun, which I think if you're lacking memorable tricks or pacing like Mega Man X, it also never really takes off from a viewership perspective. I think it's a really big shame between Bucky and Tiny Toon Adventures, as both games are super cool and great speedruns, but they're also the epitome of games that, until you try them yourself, it's hard to garner the same amount of inherent interest. Most people, once they play the game casually or learn the speedrun, understand what the fuss is about, but until then there's just this invisible bubble that's hard to break. I had an English professor that kind of summed it up perfectly in university. The only people who care about English are those who end up teaching it. Bucky and Tiny Toon Adventures are a sailboat without the wind. They're just missing that little extra bit the other games have to really push them into something memorable for a lot of people. And finally, here's the bottom of the barrel. Chinese Super Mario World and Wario's Woods. Both averaged around 40 viewers on my stream, and so far since I went full time are the absolute worst speedruns that I've ever streamed. Chinese Super Mario World is a meme, and it looks and sounds like one. Barely anyone knows this game exists, and the category itself doesn't really matter or mean anything to anyone watching. I ran the very prestigious Crash % category, where the goal was to crash the game as fast as possible. I feel meme categories can work, but not when the game itself is totally obscure. I think it left everyone feeling very confused, and probably it was like that Simpsons meme. Speaking of memes, where Homer keeps punching the Hamburglar, and that kid is crying in the background telling Homer to stop because he's already dead. I'm pretty sure people at that point just wanted me to stop and move on to something else. Everything about it was pretty bad. Wario's Woods has a similar problem. It's just confusing, despite Wario's Woods being somewhat known. Depending on the category, you're doing 20, 50, 99, or even 256 levels, and they all look the same. Here's level 77. Tell me, what's the difference between this level and level 93, for example? If you don't know, you've probably never played this game, but now as the viewer, you're expected to sit through 20, 50, or 99 levels that all look like this. If you don't already understand the game, you have no idea what's going on. Even hype moments like good diamond RNG are completely lost on new viewers. What even caused the diamond to spawn? Why was that diamond good, or what makes the diamond bad? If you don't know how to answer these questions, it's again probably very hard to get into. And on top of that, it's rough for chat interaction. Some levels force you to focus for minutes at a time, so you can't actively engage chat, and by the time that you're done, you've legitimately missed a lot of chat. It's pretty obvious that games that have poor chat interaction, are confusing to understand, or again seem very repetitive, perform poorly. It's actually a shame here as well, as Wario's Woods is a legitimately fun puzzle game, but if I streamed it after going full time on Twitch, I would simply die. With all that said, I tried to analyze some of the games that performed well on my channel in a way that goes just beyond nostalgia. Of course, the personality of the speedrunner and nostalgia are pretty big factors as well, as genuinely entertaining people can make miserable things fun or appealing. But I tried to remove both of those as focal points and focus on more universal things, and explain why a speedrun might be interesting to watch on any channel, and highlight some of what I noticed streaming full-time the last couple years on Twitch. What did you think? What are your favorite speedruns and why? What are some of the things that you like in a speedrun? Thanks for watching!